Hey, this is Dave with ImproveBackpacking.com. We are a website who provides information for the new and intermediate backpacker. We do a lot of research as far as science and what the science says so that people are safe out on the trail. So today, our question is, coming from our blog, a recent blog post, what is hydrostatic head? And why is it important when camping? So let's kind of backtrack to, I don't know, when you were a kid, when I was a kid, when your grandparents were kids. Tents originally were made of canvas. Not originally, I don't know what the first tents were made out of, but tents when I was growing up were made out of canvas, and they were very heavy, and they often collected water. They got heavier with the rainstorm, and they generally didn't in a very heavy storm they could start leaking. They weren't waterproof. They were designed to be as waterproof as possible with the heavy material, but in doing so, they just weren't as effective, and it was difficult to carry a small tent out into the wilderness and do a lengthy backpacking trip because of the cost of carrying a very heavy tent. So I mean, I remember growing up and hearing people talking about backpacking and carrying, the big thing was carrying a 60 or an 80-pound pack, and that was kind of their proud moment that that's what they would do. And to me, it was like, that doesn't make sense. I would rather not carry a pack, drink out of a stream and protect my back and my neck and my shoulders. But as being a physical therapist, I got a lot of business from early backpackers, I suppose. But let's look at hydrostatic head and what it means. So when they create a tent, their goal is to make it as lightweight as possible while still retaining some water resilience, whether that's being waterproof or it's being water resistant. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But hydrostatic head is the amount of pressure of water sitting on a fabric prior to it leaking into the fabric or going through the fabric. So it's the resistance, and it's measured in milliliters or millimeters. The reason being is they would put a fabric down like a tent, right? And then they would have a column of water, or a column that they would add water to. And as the more that they added the water, the pressure built up on the fabric. So the water, as you gained more water, there's more pressure. And the moment that I believe it was 3 drops of water came through, that would be considered the hydrostatic head rating. So they would take the measurement of how high that column got before water came through, and it was measured in millimeters. So a canvas fabric is going to have a very low hydrostatic head, meaning you're going to start to build up that water, and it's just going to start to seep through the tent and get the inside of the tent very wet. So over time, the ratings have improved greatly, and like, for example, so basically the higher the number, the better the rating on the hydrostatic head. So if you could get this up to 1,000,000, where water would never come through, 1,000,000 millimeters, which would go up to the sky, then that'd be great. Unfortunately, there's a trade-off between how much material or what type of material you need before it becomes prohibitive as far as the weight of the material. So what they have found is a good rating for the majority of the tents out there can range anywhere, and this is a big range, between 1,000 millimeters and 5,000 millimeters. And if you think about it, 1,000 millimeters, I believe, is 12 to 15 feet of where their column would have to be, or have to be that large. So they've devised a hydrostatic head tester. It's a device where you lay the cloth over it, or the material, tent material. You lay it over, you clamp it into place at a certain amount of tension, and then you start to add water, but you pressurize it. You pressurize it as if it's millimeters in height, when in fact it's a small cylinder, and it's just being pressurized. And then they are able to take that measurement and apply it to the hydrostatic head rating of that tent material. So that's kind of that's hydrostatic head in a nutshell. The reason why that's important is when you are out backpacking, if you're going to go backpacking in the winter, you need higher hydrostatic head ratings. The problem with that is you can only get so high before it's not breathable, it's not lightweight, and it no longer is compact. It might be very durable, but the characteristics that you start to lose with a high hydrostatic head rating would be those that I just mentioned. So the manufacturers have to balance the hydrostatic head rating with the durability and the lightweight and the breathability of their materials. In addition to that is you have to look at the seams of a tent. So if a tent seam leaks, that's not a good thing, right? So the tent leaks, and so you have to seal that. So that's an important thing. So no matter what the hydrostatic head rating of the material is, you need to make sure the seams don't leak. So people will apply a seam sealer. We have a nice video in the on the blog post that will explain that. It's put out by a tent manufacturer. I did not make it, but it's a nice video on our blog post. So with that, let's turn our attention a little bit to from hydrostatic head to surface tension. So if you've ever seen, say, a mosquito or water bug, water bugs can stand on water without breaking through and sinking into the water. What you're seeing in action is the surface tension of the water is preventing that insect from going through. So when you look at a tent and water droplets stay on the top of the tent, they stay there for a long period of time because there's enough surface tension in the tent to prevent the water from seeping into the tent. However, and this has happened, a lot of times when my kids were little, they would want, in a rainstorm, they would touch the side of the tent and the water would come dripping down on their hands. So what we need to pay attention, no matter how good your tent is to prevent us from, bumping our heads against the edge of the tent, pushing your hands, having, even sleeping bags sometimes can cause water to come in if we press up against them, in the middle of the night. So it's important with hydrostatic head rating that we also pay attention to surface tension. So with that said, that's all I have for that. I want you to check out the blog post that goes into it in a little more depth on hydrostatic head rating. As always, give us a like by hitting the like button. Subscribing to our channel, I forgot that, subscribing to a channel and ringing the notification bell so that you are up to date with everything that we put out on this channel. Check out our website. I will also include the link to this blog post as well as a couple other informative links that might be helpful. And as always, be kind to one another, whether in word or in action. And I hope to see you guys out on the trail and hope to keep you safe. Have a great day.